Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm excited to welcome back to the show Alter Bridge guitarist Mark Tremonti. We're going to talk all about the newest Alter Bridge album, Pawns and Kings, and Mark will even share with us how his love of Frank Sinatra influences his songwriting and singing. Lots to cover in this episode, great conversation with Mark. Let's jump in and let's get started. Awesome. Well, Mark, let me just first off start off by thanking you for joining me today and say congratulations. Today's release date, Pawns and Kings, the seventh Alter Bridge album. Is there excitement? Is there a sense of relief that, hey, the fans are finally getting to see? What does it feel like on release day for you?
Oh, it's awesome, man. You know, you have these songs, you work on them so hard, and you've listened to it so many times before the rest of the world gets to hear it. So that anticipation is exciting, and it's the final. It's like Christmas morning for an artist.
Oh, that's great. You know, I have to wonder, you wake up today, you brush your teeth, you drink your coffee, whatever you do in the morning. Do you go online and say, let me see what the fans are saying about this?
Well, to be honest, this morning I got woke up by my 1-year-old daughter, and
nothing like real life getting in the way of album release.
Yeah. And by the time I was up and at 'em, I was jumping on interviews because it's a big release day, talking about the record. So, sometimes my brother or friends will tell me what the reaction's been. So I'll be excited to hear.
Yeah, well, so far, I mean, from what I've seen, the fans have been really excited about it. The feedback has been phenomenal so far. So if you get online later on, you'll see a lot of good things being said so far. So
Awesome.
yeah. So, obviously the last couple of years have been a little crazy for everybody. And I know you put out a solo album last year, and obviously now the new album coming out now. I look at some of the songs on this album, Dead Among the Living, This Is War. Is this an influence from the last couple of years and everything going on?
No, each one of these songs tells a different story, but a lot of people think it might have had to do with the war, but it's that this record was written before the war started. So it was just an unhappy coincidence,
When did you guys start writing for the album?
As soon as I was done with Marching in Time, the last solo record I did, I started writing for it. So it's been, I remember having a 10-month window of having a date coming up, a studio date. And once that happened, it's like, all right, better haul ass and write around the clock.
Yeah. Now, when you start writing for an Alter Bridge album compared to a solo album, is it a different approach for you, or is it just, hey, whatever the next best thing that comes to mind is?
It's a little bit different, but for the most part, I'm just trying to write the best song at the moment. And if it ends up being too much of a metal song, then I'll put it aside for tomorrow.
Okay. I know when I listen to this record, to me, the Alter Bridge album, it sounds fresh, it sounds new, it sounds exciting. It certainly sounds like Alter Bridge, maybe a little bit heavier at times. What did you think when you look at this album compared to your past?
I think it's an energetic record. I think the more we tour and write records, the more we realize we want to record songs that are an enjoyable song to play on stage. So this record's full of songs that are going to be a lot of fun to play.
And, speaking of the songs, then that's one of the things that comes to mind. A lot of times when people talk about music, they say, oh, this song is epic, that song is epic. But you guys do have a few really epic songs on this album, some longer songs. I think Fable of the Silent Sun might be your longest song ever. So talk about that song, because when we use the word epic, to me, that song really fits the category well.
Yeah, that song was two different songs at first that got put in to become one song. And, when you write a song like that, I think, like, for example, like Sin After Sin, when I was writing that song, it was about 6.5 minutes long, and I wrote the riff and I wanted to see that riff through. So I just kept on throwing more and more ideas into the song. And I didn't feel like it was done until I had about 60 ideas. And then I had to go through all those ideas and go, well, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. And then you have to take all those ideas you love so much and make it make sense. And as long as the song just doesn't have parts that just make it too long and tells a good story, I like to, why edit the song and make it short just for being short? If it's better longer, let it be longer.
Now, I'm always curious as a songwriter, if you have 60 parts, and I know it's, just a made up number, 60 parts per song, and you say, hey, this doesn't fit. Have you ever taken a part of that and said, yeah, I'm going to use it in this song instead, or writing a whole new song around that? Is there an example on this album?
I could probably write 3 songs with that one song. There's so many parts left over, but the only problem with that is you don't want to repeat yourself with the same groove or the same feel or the same tempos, at least not on the same record. So I'd have to wait a record or 2 to really bring that flavor back in.
That makes sense to me. Now, to me, one of the standout songs on the album, I'm not just saying this because I'm talking with you, but Stay, which is your lead vocal. So talk about how that song came about.
I was just actually humming that song in my head one day when I was watching a movie with my kids, and I was spacing out, and I was just singing something, and I had to leave the room and just memorize what I was thinking at the moment. That happens a lot if I'm in bed and I'm falling asleep and I'm just kind of thinking, I'll write something. I remember being on an airplane and writing, back in the Creed days, I started writing the chorus for My Sacrifice, and
oh, wow.
I remember being in math class in college. I was in calculus, and I wrote the song Torn in calculus. Just kind of thinking.
Most of us in calculus are trying to make sure we understand. You're writing classic hit songs.
When I got out of school, I had to race home and get on the guitar and record what I was thinking about. So it was one of those moments where I was just kind of daydreaming about a song, and it came together.
That's all. Now, how does it come about that you end up singing that? Because obviously Miles in the band, great vocalist. How does it come about that you end up singing that song?
Well, I think over the last few records, we thought it was good to just show a different side of the band. And, I have Miles doing a lot of guitar solos. So me doing a vocal, a song on a record is kind of just a cool little break. And also when you're up there singing night after night after night, doing 20 songs a night, it's hard on your voice. So it's good for Miles to be able to get a song break. If he's having a rough night, if he has a cold or something, I can always put the 4 songs that I sing in a row and give him a good 20-minute breather while he gets his voice warmed, rested.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, the name of the album is Pawns and Kings. The last song on the album is Pawns and Kings. Who came up? I love that expression, Pawns and Kings. Who came up with that?
That was Miles's lyric. And then when we finished the record, when it came up with the title for the record, usually we'll just look at song titles and lyrics and go through them all and see if anything sticks out. And as soon as we saw Pawns and Kings, it was like, all right, that's very thought evoking. It's you can almost I always say this, but you think of your backdrop on stage. What's going to be, think of the imagery that's going to go on the cover of your record. That it just conjures up all these images, and it was very thought provoking.
No, it definitely is. And to me, it's a great way to close out the album. And, one of the things to me, as things progress over the last few decades, is the art of sequencing songs on an album sometimes gets a little bit lost now because people are streaming things and you get a song here, a song there, but to me, this is such a great way. The album starts, really great with This Is War, closes, with Pawns and Kings. Do you think that sequencing of songs and that the whole art of listening to an album beginning to end is lost on some people who listen to music these days?
Well, not the music I listen to. It isn't, I still listen to bands that probably follow the same, grew up in the same time I did and put out the same kind of music. So for us, the sequence is very important. We have to listen to it many, many times before we feel it's right. And it needs to tell a dynamic story. It can't just be all heavy. It has to kind of be a roller coaster and pull you in. And, and that goes a lot along also with pre-production. If you've got not a lot of one kind of, if one song might not be as good as another song, but it tells a different sort of story dynamically, sometimes that song is going to make the record just because it's different. So the sequencing needs to have a cool flow and be interesting, not just gung-ho metal the whole time, or else you get lost.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any personal favorites on the album?
Sin After Sin is one of my favorites on there. Pawns and Kings title track. They're all our babies,
Yep. Oh, of course. Of course. Now, last week, I think it was a week ago today, you guys were in Orlando. You had the listening party and you guys played together for the first time in, I think, 2 years. How was that? Oh, over 2 years, actually.
Oh, it was awesome. It was really great. We played acoustic too, so people were screaming the words back at us, and we could hear them so much louder because we didn't have all the big distorted guitars. And we saw tears out there, man, and we felt that it was great.
Right. Now, like you mentioned, you played acoustic. Would you ever consider as a band doing an acoustic album or an EP or anything like that?
Yeah, I would love to do that. It's something that you never know. It's at this point in our career, after 7 albums, the toughest thing is to do something that you haven't done before, and that's something we haven't done. So you never know.
All right. Yeah, I remember the Foo Fighters going through a phase where they said the same thing after so many albums. They did a double album, electric one CD and acoustic the other. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys would be great doing an acoustic album. And I know that night you guys played Silver Tongue, right? So that made its debut on that. What could the fans expect on the upcoming tour? I know you said you're hoping to play some of these songs. What could they expect from the tour with the new album and some of the songs?
So funny. I'm sitting right here with next to my list of songs that I'm learning for the next tour. So I've got about 33 songs listed right here that I've got to learn before the tour starts. So right now, you can pretty much count on the 4 songs that we've released on the radio: Sinatra, Sin, This Is War, Silver Tongue, and Pawns and Kings. And then we'll probably add one more. So we'll probably do about, if I was guessing, 5 new songs right out of the gate.
Nice.
and then rotate those songs as the tour goes on.
So you just said you had 33 songs on the list. Could fans expect to hear like different set lists on a nightly basis, or will some of those 33 go by the wayside as you guys rehearse?
No, we'll change things as we go. Hopefully, just it might not be a drastic change, but maybe a song or 2 different a night.
Yep, that's awesome. So now, like I said before, this is the 7th album. How has the songwriting evolved over the years between you and Miles? Because it's been almost 20 years you guys are working together.
Yeah, no, we constantly have to keep reinventing ourselves and doing things that we haven't done. And the toughest thing as a songwriter now is sitting down and write something that you like and going, I've used that chord progression, or I've done this. This sounds like this sounds like that. So you got to try to find a way to be inspired to do different things as much as you can.
Yeah. Now, you and Miles in the room together, or are you doing stuff and then you send him, electronically stuff and vice versa?
Yeah, we work. He lives on the other side of the country, so we make demos. I make them here in this room I'm in now, and Miles is at home, and then we put them on Dropbox and we share them. And then when we get to pre-production, we're all in the same room for a few weeks putting these songs together.
Yep, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned before going out on the road, so I think in about a couple of weeks you guys are heading overseas, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, we start all November, and half of December we'll be in Europe.
And you guys have a great lineup with you, right? Hailstorm and Wolf Van Halen is going to be with you guys supporting. So just talk about having the 2 bands, or the 3 bands, including yourself, on one bill together.
Oh, it's awesome. We've already done tours with Hailstorm, and the crowds loved it. And we love those guys. I think Lizzie's got one of the best voices in all of rock and roll. And Wolfie was in my band Tremonti for 2 records. So, I'm so happy for him. Proud and happy for him, because he had his vision and he followed it through. It's one thing being the bass player in my band, but to be the leader and the songwriter and the performer and frontman in his band is something that he needed to do, and he's killing it.
No, he absolutely is. And like you said, he was in your bands. I think he recorded 2 albums with you. Do you stay in touch with him?
Yeah. I mean, he's right now they're out in LA tracking his new record with Elvis, our producer. So, I see updates from the guys. They just finished drums and whatnot, and they say it sounds amazing.
Absolutely. Any chance that the 3 bands would get up on stage together, like for an encore, and do something together?
I hope so. I've talked to Miles about that. We just have to find a song to do. Who knows?
Right. That would be awesome.
Maybe I sit out for it. Who knows who's in it?
Right. That would be awesome. I'd love to see all 3 bands get together on stage. And then in the spring, you guys announced some North America dates as well. Again, with Wolf, I don't think Hailstorm will be playing with you guys, but Wolf will be with you guys on the North America tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, awesome. We look forward to it, man. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Will there be more dates announced for other areas of the world or other cities that maybe there hasn't been anything yet?
Yeah, we'll be touring all the way through the end of next year at least. So I think next summer is when we're going to try to hit all the big festivals around the world. So we'll be all over the place.
That's awesome. Now, before you mentioned being in calculus and writing a hit song, which just blows my mind. And you think back to 20 years ago and, being successful was, like you said, having a hit song, platinum albums, multi-platinum albums. 2022, that's not really the environment we live in. So you release an album today. What will make it a success for you?
I think first and foremost, being satisfied with what you put out artistically and thinking you did your best work. And then having, secondly, your fans react to it. It's that means a lot to us. And just getting, it's funny to see, almost instead of record sales, you can kind of see like festival positioning as some kind of a level of success. So, hopefully we get some good spots this summer.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that before. Festival position is a very interesting one. Now, earlier this year, you did, I think, something that probably took some people by surprise at first, a Sinatra cover album. And, that's really making a left-hand turn there. And I think the feedback on that was extremely excellent. Did that surprise you?
I worked very, very hard on that. And the reason I wanted to do it, because I felt so good about it. And I didn't know until my daughter was diagnosed with Down syndrome, I didn't know what I was going to do with my Frank Sinatra practice, because I had been doing it for years. Mm-hmm. But once she got diagnosed, I was like, you know what? Frank Sinatra was a very charitable man. He raised over $1 billion for charity. I'm going to record a Frank Sinatra record, and I'm going to do it to raise money for the National Down Syndrome Society. And in the process, my manager hooked up. He pulled off the impossible and got Frank Sinatra's band in the studio with me. Amazing. And we got the approvals from the family to use his name and likeness on the album, which was another huge achievement for him. And that's guys like Bublé and Tony Bennett, so it's been an honor. And I love doing the live shows. So we're playing on December 15th in London, and then we're playing December 29th in Orlando, March 2nd in New York.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to keep on adding more and more shows.
I remember last year I had Paul Stanley on the show, and he was promoting his Soul Station album. And I had asked him, that was much different than Kiss. Was there any connection between the R&B stuff and Kiss stuff? And he starts telling me, well, Standing in the Shadows of Love, Influence, Shout Out Loud. I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. It was kind of interesting hearing that. So my question, your love for Sinatra, does it impact any of your songwriting in Alter Bridge or any of your solo stuff?
Absolutely. It makes me approach vocals differently. And now that I'm writing new music, I try to see how I can make it suit, fit somewhere. Like if you listen to the Marching in Time track on my last solo record, the bridge of that song, I sing really, really low. And back in the day, I would have never done that. I wish I could even retrack that part and make it more of a big band kind of sound, because I didn't really go 100% that direction. But like I said, I wasn't afraid of using that voice. Through my whole career, I never liked my lower voice, but until I learned how to use my lower voice doing the Sinatra stuff, now I'm going to use that as a strength.
Well, maybe in 10 years, like in the deluxe edition, you could remix it and re-record some of it.
There you go.
Man. So, and you said you're doing a few of those shows coming up in the next few months. So definitely fans will want to keep a lookout for that. You mentioned before some of the Creed songs, and people are always asking, is there any chance for Creed to come back together, either for a song or a tour? Anything on that?
It's just a matter of timing. We're all so busy running around the world doing our things. We would just have to have a time where it made sense. I don't think we need to rush into it, because I don't think Creed fans are going anywhere. I think whenever we decide to do something, I think it's going to be a safe time to do it. It's just going to be when it makes sense for everybody. You don't want to derail a whole album cycle by jumping into doing Creed, and it would just have to make sense.
And like you said, the album cycle is just beginning today. Pawns and Kings out today. I certainly recommend the fans go check it out. When you listen to it, do you stream? Do you vinyl? How do you listen to the music?
Usually I just stream it or put it on YouTube. Usually now when I'm relearning stuff, I'll get on YouTube and listen to it.
Amazing. Well, I always tell people go out, buy the physical product. There's nothing like holding an album in your hand, seeing the artwork, which you mentioned earlier.
I still buy records.
Do you really?
but it's just not as convenient to be driving around listening to it, you know.
Of course. What was the last record you bought?
Well, probably the Columbia Years Frank Sinatra collection.
Nice. Very
Mhm.
nice. Anything else with Pawns and Kings that you want the fans to know about?
Uh, no, well, there's two songs that didn't make the record that maybe sometime next year they'll show their faces.
Oh, where could fans maybe, if they show their faces, will it be like an extended version of the album or something like that?
We don't know yet, but the good thing about those songs is if we do a 6 months of touring and we want to reinvigorate get people talking about the record again, we can drop one of those songs to get everybody um, excited again about a new tour.
Well, that sounds great. And the new album is great, Mark. I wish you guys a lot of luck with the album, a lot of luck with the tour. And I want to just thank you for taking the time today, chatting with us about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take it easy, Mark.
See you, man.
Bye. Alrighty, there you have it. I'd like to thank Mark for joining me, talking all about the new Alter Bridge album and the plans to tour in the upcoming year. Thanks a lot, Mark. I really appreciate it. I suggest all the fans go out there and check out the new album, Pawns and Kings. I think you guys are going to really love it. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.